man? What's up? What's up? What's up? This is your boy JMIK, and I'm here with Whittle, and we're here with another edition of Routed Up. So, I mean, like, and we got a whole agenda that we're gonna talk about, but and we'll get to that in a second. Um, so, in the Whittle, and how you doing today, man?
Bro, I'm at work, man. Taking time out to be with the people, bundled up because it's brick outside right now, brother. I'm telling you, if I spit outside, it's gonna be an ice chip before it hit the ground. It's cold. It's cold, cold.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I'm not too far from you, and it's pretty. It's been cold like that for the last couple of days, man. So
Yeah,
I mean, I definitely feel where you coming from, man.
feel my pain. I'm working outside too, dog. Pray for me, man.
Yeah. Yeah, be true that. First thing we're gonna talk about is Thursday night football. Do you want to weigh in on the game?
Um, I wish the Rams looked that terrible when they played us. Like, I wish they looked that bad against us. Like, it makes no sense. They go up against a much more depleted defense, a team basically, the 49ers basically in disarray, and they look mediocre. I mean, but you got to chalk it up to a division game. But bro, like, where was that terrible effort when we was in SoFi? Like, I didn't get that. But they did what they needed to do. They won a game, man. I mean, they won a game, and at the same time, I believe they swept the 49ers. And I mean, you win a game, you keep yourself in contention for the division, and you basically end the season for one of your biggest rivals. Like, that's huge. Like, they on a good run, man. They had a really good two week run right now. The Rams right now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's funny you say that and mention the Bills game because I tweeted that when I was watching the game. I'm like, the Stafford against the Bills versus the Stafford against the Niners. This can't be the same guy. It can't, like, because he didn't even look the same. And I mean, like, I'm not sure if you could chalk it up to he's, I mean, like, the amount of times he threw the ball against the Bills and then coming back on a short week, which is 4 days, like a 4 day period, and coming back. Maybe that got something to do with it, but but the whole team, like, well, I can't say the whole team. Offensively, the team just didn't look the same. But yeah, I mean, to me, like, in terms of scoring, that might have been one of the worst Thursday night football games, I guess you could say. There, like, there was some good defense in that game, so I can't just say the game was like the worst. I mean, it just wasn't a lot of scoring. There wasn't no touchdowns in that game. It was just a bunch of field goals and defense. But yeah, I mean, like, to me, like, the 49er season has been over. Like, I mean, like, they've had a chance, but like, I got this rule, man. Like, and like, in football, like, when you're in week 13, 14, and you sitting there with 5 wins, I mean, you might not be eliminated, but low key, you are not gonna make the playoffs. I mean, that's just, like, by that point, you would have had to accumulate at least seven to 8 wins, or maybe at least 6 wins. But if you're sitting there with 5 wins going into your week 14 game, week 14 game, you got 5 wins, man. Like, you're probably not making the playoffs. You got teams like the Vikings and the Packers that the Vikings got double-digit wins. The Packers is on the verge of double-digit wins. You got the Commanders with 8 wins. You got a bunch of teams that already got to that limit. And I just thought, like, like I was saying this earlier, like, when you make the Super Bowl, you gotta win, and that's just because you don't know what the circumstances is going to be like, years ahead of that. And I think the 49ers is a perfect example of that. They took the Chiefs to overtime, they lost, and and they played a lot of football last year, and then this year, you're building onto all that football you played, and they got a bunch of injuries. And I mean, like, now they're sitting here with like 5-8, 5-9, and not about to make the playoffs. And I mean, now they got to kind of retool their roster, or I won't say retool, but like, they got to get healthy next year, and try to make another run at it. So it just shows you when you get to the Super Bowl, man. I mean, you got to win.
Yeah, now you was right. They need to retool that roster. Offensive line needs help. They probably got to let go of some of that talent on the defensive side. I mean, they've done a good job of, with Jair St. Brown and Malik Mustafa in the backfield. The secondary, excuse me. Bernardo Green, I think, was an excellent pickup. They still got Travarius Ward. They can, they have a bunch of picks. I think they have 8 draft picks going into this offseason. So they really got to go and attack defensive tackle. Uh, Fred Warner's still good. Drake Greenlaw's coming back. They may need to get rid of Drake Greenlaw. So maybe they go linebacker, defensive tackle, and corner, and then their defense is straight. The real problem to me though was that offensive line, and I like Pearsall, but we haven't really seen enough to Ayuk's gonna be coming off a major injury next year. It's looking rough, and Purdy's gonna get paid, but how good is Purdy without the weapons? It doesn't look like he honestly that game against the Bills, and then this game against the Rams, like Purdy looked out of sorts. Like he really looked like he just didn't know what the hell to do, what was going on. He looked really bad, and that's not good going into a contract year. But I don't like to write off teams with pedigree, and the 49ers is a franchise with pedigree. I remember last year the Bills were sitting at 6-6, right around this time, and a lot of people wrote us off at that point. I mean, I low key was like, maybe we'll get a wild card or something like that. But they picked up steam and played well throughout the rest of the season, and kind of just we won out. We won 5 straight games to win the division, and you go from in the hunt to the 2 seed. I don't put that past a team like the 49ers, especially with the talent they still have. But I just think they lost way too many pieces, and maybe Brock's not as good as good as everybody thought without the elite talent around them. So they're in transition, but I don't think they're that far off. They gotta retool that roster and they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the raging debate right now, like the whole Brock Purdy situation, like what you do. But I don't think he's in his third year. He's still got another year under his rookie deal, so you don't have to give him, like, you're not forcing him a contract now. I mean, you could if you wanted to save money on a salary cap. I mean, like, that's why you extend guys early. I mean, but if you want to see how he plays, then I mean, you can go ahead and wait another year. But I mean, you can ask the Bengals. And it's a different situation when I mean Jamar Chase and T Higgins, but I mean, I mean, you can wait to the end, but if you wait to the end and he balls out next year, then you're gonna have to pay him, and it's not gonna be as cheap as you if you want to pay him right now. Um, but yeah, I mean, like the 49ers, I mean, like to me, I mean, like their front office is solid to me. I mean, like, I mean, my only issue with them is, like, you kind of mentioned, like the offensive line, like they always had Trent. Trent's one of the like in this decade or the last 10, 15 years, like he's one of the best I mean left tackles in football, but they never built up the offensive line around him, and so now he's hurt, and now you see kind of what it was. So I mean, yeah, I mean, like, nobody's gonna cry for the 49ers, man. I mean, like, there's a lot of teams that have been at the bottom and that rose to the top, and I mean, I mean, like, that's just, I mean, like, that's just the NFL. I mean, like, it's a year-to-year league. So I mean, it kind of is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, when you spend that much time at the top, or near the top, uh, once you start falling, depending on how you treated those that you passed up on your way up, is how you're gonna be treated on your way down. So, like you said, nobody's crying for them. Nobody's crying for them.
Yeah, that's a fact. So the next thing we want to dive into is a division game. So I mean, so it's building off the Thursday night football game. So what we're gonna do is, I mean, are division games different than out of division games?
Absolutely. Um, Division games, you play those teams twice a year. Like what the real thing that I think the makes division games close is the coaches know each other so well, because the rosters can change slightly. Maybe if you have a Debo Samuel's one year, the next year you may have a I don't know, Laviska Chenault, and obviously they're two different skill levels of players, but they're similar style of players, right? A guy you want to get the ball in his hands. He does things outside of just receiving the football. So basically, it's the same system. It's the same talent. It's the same skill set. It's just the talent is different. So coaches really know how to prepare for each other. That's what I think. That's what makes the division games way closer than you would expect. You can get a 3-win division game, 3-win, bottom of the league type team to go up against a division rival that's a lot better than they are record wise, and they play them to a 1-score game. You know, how many years have we watched the Kansas City Chiefs be at the top of the league fighting for the 1 seed, and then they go and play a Raiders team or a Broncos team that's fighting for the first pick in the draft, and it's a 1-score game. You need a field goal or a late game turnover, and the Chiefs end up winning, but they play them tough. And I think Denver beat them. Was it? I believe it was last year. I think Denver beat them. So the division games are tough because the coaches understand each other and they know how to prepare for each other every year.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you because it's like because all the examples you gave, like the Chiefs not only lost to Denver, but they lost to the Raiders too last year. And so I think Denver, like I mean, like that had been the first time that Denver had beaten them in a while, and I mean, I think the Raiders the first time the Raiders beat them in a couple years. I mean, I just agree, like like what you said. It's just like the coaches. I mean, like the coaches don't change as much as the players do.
Right.
I mean, like if you're dealing with a really good team, I mean, like the bad teams, and you might have a new coach every 3-4 years. But I mean, the coaching staffs kind of, I mean, like they know each other, and it's I mean, like you're also gonna say with coaches is like, I mean, a lot of these coaches that are head coaches at some point along the line, and I'm not saying with like Sean McDermott and like Gerard Mayo is an example. I mean, I mean, they never coach on the same staffs, but some of these coaches in like different divisions, they, I mean, like they have been like coaching against each other for a while, or they come from the same coaching tree sometimes. And so kind of with the Rams, the Rams and 49ers, like that's what you have. Like they're coming from the same tree. So I mean, like they are
Yeah.
very, I mean, like familiar with each other. And that's just on the coaches. I mean, the players, like, the quarterbacks and like the franchise players on each of these teams, they play these teams twice a year. So there's this, I mean, like there's like discontent, I mean, for the team that you're playing against twice a year. And you can look at like the Bills and the Jets, or the Bills and the Patriots, or like the Bills and the Dolphins. Like players on both sides of them games, like they just don't like each other and they want to win those games. And I mean, say you're a 3-4 win team, and I mean, you're going up against a team that's already in the playoffs, 9 to 10 wins, and they're playing for like seeding. And I mean, like a lot of times, like I mean, the lower, like the teams that are out of it, that's what you're playing to kind of not to ruin a season, but I mean to like affect a season. And so that's why I
Right.
think you could say that division games are just they're just different. They just have a different feeling to them. Like, because I mean, the Patriots are playing the Cardinals this week, man. Like, I don't feel any different type of way about the Cardinals. Like, I don't love the Cardinals. I don't hate the Cardinals. Like, I don't have any disdain for the Cardinals. I mean, when I'm going against the Dolphins or the Jets or the Bills, I mean, I have disdain for like I want to beat those teams. And so I just think like that's like that's kind of where it's different. I mean, like you have different situations where I mean, like like for instance, the Bills and the Chiefs play every year. So I mean, the Bills obviously they want to beat the Chiefs every single year. So I mean, that's a little different. I mean, when you play, so when you have rivals and you're like a good team, and like and you're playing with another good team. I mean, that's a little it's a different scenario. But I mean, but all in all, like when you play a divisional opponent, the games are just tougher. I mean, it's just tougher because I mean, the coaches. I mean, the player, the majority of the players, at least the starters, are typically the same, and you have some sort of disdain for them, and it just makes for a harder game.
Yeah. I mean, we play the Chiefs so much, man. It might as well be a division game at this point. We played them like almost, bro. Like over the last 5 years, we played them 8 times. I think it was. So
I mean, that's just the
tired of
matchup that
playing
people
the
want to see,
Chiefs.
though. I mean, that's what it comes
Yeah,
down to.
that's
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like when the Patriots had Tom Brady, and like we playing the Steelers every year, man. We literally was playing them. If we didn't play them once a year, like it would be once in the regular season, and then then once in the playoffs. So I mean, like the league likes to cultivate those kind of matchups because at that time both teams were good. Now you have the Bills and the Chiefs; both teams are good, so the league wants to cultivate that rivalry. So I mean, that's just kind of what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
um, next we're gonna go to is that we're gonna focus on this week's games. First we're gonna go to game of the week. There are a lot of good games, so I mean you got to just kind of pick one.
Uh, um, Eagles Steelers. I really don't want to talk about Bills Lions because I yeah I don't know, man. I don't have a great feeling about that game right now. I had a great feeling about the Rams, but you see how that worked out. Um, no, but I think Bills Lions honestly is the game of the week. Two teams that you could realistically see get into the Super Bowl. Two quarterbacks having outstanding seasons. Two coaches that took over franchises in disarray and brought those franchises from obscurity into what they are now, which are perennial playoff teams, Super Bowl contenders. Just kind of always seem to be one or two steps away from getting to that ultimate goal. So, uh, yeah, I mean, arguably the two best teams in each conference. Um, the Lions are the number one seed in the NFC. The Bills are the number two seed in the AFC right now. And I mean, this has been built up to be, you know, the Super Bowl that everybody wants to see, the Super Bowl matchup that everybody outside of like Kansas City and Philly really want to see. So I mean, that's the game of the week, man. Some injuries on the Bills side defensively. Taylor Rapp I think he's going to be out. Like I've seen some reports saying he's been ruled out. Rasul Douglas has already been ruled out. We are getting guys back on the offensive side of the ball, but offensive side of the ball wasn't the problem last week. So you know, um, we gotta see what happens, man. That's the game of the week, bro. Sonic and
Um,
Knuckles versus the paper thin Buffalo Bills, uh, battered and tattered defense. So let's see.
yeah. I'll just talk about this game real quick. This is this to me it is the game of the week, but I'm gonna talk about a different game. Um, I think you're right, but like I think sometimes I mean we watch the NFL and I mean sometimes you gotta like this is a week like a lot of people say that it's a week to week league. And you might have I mean your defense might look bad one week, but then you might be able to bounce back the next week, and I mean and your defense looks a lot better. Um, but yeah, I mean to me the Bills Lions could be the game of the year. I mean to be honest, I mean I mean you got two teams that a lot of people think that can make the Super Bowl. And I mean like I mean people are putting really high expectations on this game. Um, and so I just think it's going to be a good game. I mean like you have two offenses that are really high powered. And you have two defenses for the most part that I mean like that are really good. I mean the Lions are facing a lot of injuries. I mean Bills have some injuries, so I just think the game's going to be interesting. But my game of the week, I was always going to go with a different game, and I'm going to go with the Steelers Eagles, man. I mean like it's kind of a similar scenario. Like I mean you got two teams that have double digit wins. I mean like you have two really good defenses. The Steelers offense. I mean, people don't like to talk about it, but the Steelers offense over the last about 4 to 6 weeks has really turned it on. They've been scoring a good amount of points. Um, the Eagles offensively, like their run game is really dominant. The passing game needs a little bit of work. And so I mean, like these two teams are playing at 425, and like the interesting stat is that the Steelers have not won in Philadelphia since 1965. And I mean, obviously, there's reasons for that because obviously, like these teams don't play every year; they're not in the same conference. So the reality of it, the reality of it is like they pretty much only play every 4 years. That's just the reality of it. So I mean, that's kind of why the stat is, I mean, like what it is, and essentially that means is that they probably only play in Philadelphia once every 8 years. But it's still a crazy stat that they haven't won there since '65. Um, still
Philly's
aside,
a tough place to play. Philly, the link is a tough place to play, man. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. They really have a true home field advantage. Philadelphia does. Like it's tough there. It's tough to play there.
yeah. And I don't disagree with that. I mean, like going in there and winning is definitely a tough situation. It's not undoable, but it's definitely tough. Steelers are down George Pickens again. He, I mean, he's already been ruled out with that. I mean, like hamstring that he has. Um, and I mean, like I mean, Pickens, like I like Pickens a lot, but I don't think Pickens is the reason why they don't win the game. So but they still, I mean, like they still have Calvin Austin, they still have Fryermuth, so they still have some, I mean, like some sort of weapons. I mean, like they have Williams, who they got from the Jets. Um, so I mean, they got a lot of pieces that they can still depend on. And then like the defense is the defense. I mean, like J.J. Watt, I mean, he's a game record, so the Eagles got to account for that. But I mean, the Eagles have one of the better O lines in football, so I mean, I would assume that they got to account for him and I mean Highsmith. So you got to see how that goes. And then on the Eagles side, I mean, like the Eagles' offense is super talented. I mean, they got AJ Brown, they got Smitty, they got Saquon. Their I mean, tight end is out, but they got a backup tight end who's who's actually a pretty good a receiving tight end. I think his name is Calcatora or something like that. So they got him.
Yeah.
So you got him. I mean, like Jalen Hurts throwing the ball is kind of bit like I mean, like you heard like the rumbles coming out this week about AJ Brown. So I would expect for them to try to get AJ Brown the ball, but going against that Steelers secondary, I don't think it's going to be as easy as they think it's going to be. I'm just to get him the ball there. And defensively, I mean, the Eagles got I mean, like their secondaries play really well. And then you got Jordan Davis and I mean Jalen Carter, man up their D line. So I mean, yeah, I mean, like you got a lot of good players in this game, and I think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, I think it comes down to two things. How well can the for the Steelers, I think, how well can they run the football with Najee Harris and mix in some Jalen Warren? How effective can they be running that football? Because that's important. And then on the other side is if the Steelers can take the run away, or they can limit the explosive runs from Saquon, can Jalen Hurts create enough explosive plays in that game to generate scoring opportunities? The Steelers defense is very, very tough. They don't give you a lot of yards. They don't give you a lot to work with. I mean, as of late, I mean, you saw them get kind of cooked up a bit against the Bengals, but I mean, the Bengals offense does that to every team. They just manage to find ways to lose. But like that Steelers defense is tough. They go with a 5-man front. T.J. Watt, Highsmith, Cam Hayward, you know, Keanu Benton, those guys in the middle. Nick Herbig is coming off the bench. Like they have a lot of talent that plays very well up front. Then on top of that, you have Patrick Queen, who was an All-Pro last year. They got a bunch of linebackers who play very, very good football. Um, they're coached well, so they have the coaching advantage, in my opinion. Tomlin over Sirianni. I think it's just going to come down to, can the Steelers run the football? And if they can, I think they win. And in the Eagles, if they're not getting explosives from Saquon, can Jalen Hurts and those receivers create enough big plays down the field to, increase their number of times that the Eagles are in scoring position? If Jalen Hurts can't do that, then the Eagles may lose. But yes, that's going to be a tough game. Tough game. It sucks that both of them are coming on at 4:25 because I'm watching the Bills game, of course, as a Bills fan, but that's a game I would love to see. The Eagles and the Steelers.
Yeah. So I'm gonna definitely be. Yeah. I mean, so I'm gonna definitely have to go like 3 screens. I'm definitely have to throw up like the Bills game, the Eagles game, and then my own Patriots game. So, but yeah, I'm gonna try to watch all 3 at the same time. That's just that's just what's gonna have to happen in that situation.
Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do.
But next we're gonna talk about upset of the week. There's a lot of good games on the slate, and there's games between bad teams. So we're gonna have to find a upset of the week. I go first. The funny thing is, I'm gonna talk about the same game I was talking about actually. Eagles and the Steelers. Eagles are favored in this game by 5.5 points. And the Steelers are going into Philly, and like I said, they hadn't won it since '65. And I mean, sometimes something got to give. And I just think that if the Steelers are able to slow down Saquon Barkley, not just in the pass game, not just in the run game, but in the pass game, I think it puts pressure on him and Jalen Hurts to make plays. And I just think the Steelers have the defense to be able to do that. And for me, like the only question for me is like, can the Steelers generate enough offense to be able to beat the Eagles? And I think they do. I mean, their run game, like they have a 2-head run game with Najee and Jalen Warren. I mean, like the offensive line they got a solid offensive line. I wouldn't say it's like the best in the league, but it's pretty solid. Um, and I mean, like I said, George Pickens is out, but I do like some of the receivers. I do like Calvin Austin. I do like Fryer. So they got some guys I do like. I mean, they aren't, the guys aren't George Pickens, and they can't make the plays that George Pickens makes. But I think when you have Russ back there, I mean, Russ is playing really well. Like you're not going to ask Russ to do too much. So as long as he doesn't turn over the ball, I think the Steelers have a really good chance to actually win that game. And so, like, that's who I'm going to go with.
I thought about Jacksonville over the Jets because Mac Jones, playing in the AFC East for as long, for the majority of his career, he should know the Jets. But Jacksonville's so freaking terrible. I can't even go with that one. I'm gonna go with. I think the Bears are playing the Vikings this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. That's on Monday Night Football. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with that one. The Bears fired their coach. They didn't beat the Niners last week. I think they get that coaching bump this week against a divisional opponent. I mean, everybody keeps waiting for Minnesota to fall off and for Sam Darnold to turn into a pumpkin. I don't think he does, but I think that the Bears have played well in situations and just found ways to lose. I think this week the Bears figure out a way to win and beat the Vikings on Monday Night Football. That's my upset.
I mean, I can see that because I mean, like, it's Monday Night Football. Like, that is a divisional game. Like the Bears know the Vikings pretty well. So I mean, I don't think that's crazy to say. So um next thing we're gonna go out to is the blowout of the week. Um, so I mean, to me, there was maybe a few games I was looking at for blowout of the week, but there's one game that kind of when I looked at, it, I'm like, yeah, this blowout of the week. It's the Ravens at the Giants, man. Like, um, I believe the Giants are going back to Danny DeVito because I think Drew Lock got hurt. Like he hurt his leg or something. So they're going back to Danny DeVito. Giants aren't trying to win anyways, man. I mean, the Giants are trying to get their quarterback, or I mean, like they're trying to either get Cam Ward or Shador Sanders. Ravens are in a tight divisional battle with the Steelers. Like they are 2 games back of the Steelers, and they've already lost to the Steelers one, so they really can't afford more losses if they're trying to catch the Steelers, because I believe they play the Steelers one more time. I think they play them the next couple of weeks. So like they can't have a hiccup. And I just think the Ravens are just a much better team than the Giants. I don't even think they're in the same atmosphere, to be honest. And so I mean, like, unless the Giants defense turns up, I mean, in some shape or form, which they haven't done all season, I just don't see how this game is close. Like I just think this, this game has the ability to be like a total wipeout type of game. Like even more than I think the Ravens are favored by 16 points. I mean, which might be one of the highest lines in the NFL this year. And so I just don't see it, and I just don't see how the Giants even score points in this game, and that's why I have it as the blowout of the week.
Well, one thing the Giants can do is throw the football. One thing the Giants can do is get the ball downfield with the pass. They have the receiving weapons to do it. And the Ravens have had a questionable secondary for most of the year. I don't think that's going to matter. It's going to be, it's going to be like 63 to 3 or 6 or something like that. It's going to be bad. It's going to be disgusting. Uh, I think the Bills I think the Bills are really in a situation where they could get blown out. Not having Taylor Rapp at safety, not having Russell Douglas out there, you going with a CB2 of potentially Jamarcus Ingram or Kaya Elam. I would feel a lot better about Kaya Elam, but the way they run the football in Detroit, the way that that offensive line protects Jared Goff, and you're missing key pieces. The Bills are missing key pieces on defense. I don't know. And Josh Allen is He hasn't turned the ball over this year, but this is one of those games where he may try to do too much. And they have the best safety duo in the league. This could be a situation where the Bills are down 2 scores and Josh turns the football over and things get out of hand after that. I hope it's not the case, but that's what I'm seeing. Ooh, I gotta step away for a second.
But I mean that's upset of the week and blowout of the week. Next thing we're gonna talk about is the MVP race. I mean, the MVP race has been I'm heating up over the last couple of weeks. Um, to me, I mean, all season we've been talking about this all season. The MVP race. We've kind of always listed the top five, but I think the conversation has kind of narrowed to two guys, in my opinion. You might be able to throw a third guy in there, but I mean, to me, realistically, there's only two choices, I think. And you have Josh Allen and you have Saquon Barkley. And then like a very distant third. I guess you could put Lamar Jackson in there. So I mean, those are the choices that you have. To me, and I mean, I hate doing this, but it's like the MVP is a quarterback award. Like it's become a quarterback award. I don't feel that it should have been that way. I'm one of the people that felt like CMC should have won it last year. But the MVP is just it's a quarterback award. Like it's just that's just what the league. I mean, like the league has put such great importance on that one position. And then Josh Allen down the stretch has been fantastic. I mean, he was, even though they lost in that Rams game, he was really good. He accounted for 6 touchdowns. And for the people that say, oh, well, 3 of those touchdowns were, I mean, like 1 yard, running touchdowns. Well, you need to look at the drive. He the one that brought them down to the 1 yard line to begin with. So you can't just say, oh, they're just 1 yard touchdowns. And then the game before that, like the 49ers game, I mean, he did something that a quarterback has never, well, not even just a quarterback, a player's never done. He had a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. And I mean, he still had in those conditions, he still had a pretty good game. For me, Josh Allen's my pick for MVP. And I just think this week against the Lions, if he plays, like they don't even have to win the game. Like if he plays like he played against the Rams, and I mean he puts up those kind of stat lines that doesn't turn over the ball. Like I think it's over. Like, I don't think there's too much more to talk about because his last 3 games against the Jets and the Patriots twice, unless he has 3 clunkers, like I just don't see how he's not going to win the MVP.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's been a quarterback award for a minute now. I think the time to give it to a running back was last year. CMC, I thought was deserving with the season that he had last year. But yeah, I mean, I gotta put Jared Goff in this conversation. Like, if the Lions blow the Bills out, get the 1 seed, and Jared Goff has, he plays well throughout the rest of the season, there's a chance for Jared Goff to slide in and be the MVP. He's having a great year. I think Lamar still has a shot, even though they have 5 losses. They went out, the Steelers falter, they come up, they'll be the 2 or 3 seed easily. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think Josh is the front runner for sure, but I think those other 2 guys have a good chance at still making a case, depending on how Josh plays. It's his award to lose. Let's just say that it's his award to lose. If he stinks it up over the next month, then it is what it is. But if the Bills finish out, 13-4, 14-3. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, like I just think if he has a not even the performance that he had at the Rams, but like I mean, if he goes for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, it doesn't turn over the ball. I just don't know. I mean, like because Saquon got a hard game this week, man. Like, I mean, like people talking about the rushing record and all that, but I mean, the Steelers don't give up a lot in the run game. They just don't. And so I just think it's going to be challenging for him to put up, like the 125 that I think he would have needs 125 over the next 4 weeks to break the record. Like I don't know that he's going to run for 100 yards this week. Like I mean, it's possible. I mean he could always break a long run and get there, but it's not going to be easy. Um, Jared Goff to me, I mean, Jared Goff to me is a very interesting case because he has a lot of weapons on that team, and sometimes when you're talking about like I mean, winning MVP, sometimes people look down at you because you have too many weapons. And I mean, like they'll say, well, how valuable are you? Because you got a great offensive line, you got two running backs that are going to run for over 1,000 yards. I mean, Jamo's having a great year, St. Brown's having a great year, Porter's having a not so great year, but I think that's due to like the offense and I mean like how they call them.
Everybody else balling. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just think in those situations, like if I mean, like if there are other guys like Josh Allen and Saquon that are close to you, like they're I mean, like, I mean, they're gonna look down on you because I mean, like your offense, and it's not his fault that his offense is talented. Like, I'm not saying that. It's just that's just what the voters do, and I mean, like they're gonna be like if they're determined between Josh Allen, Jared Goff, and Saquon, they're gonna be like, well, Josh Allen don't have the weapons that Jared Goff has, but he still made it happen. And I mean, like Saquon, I mean, like it's the same situation with Saquon. Like Saquon got he got two top level wide receivers, and like he's got a really good offensive line. So like those are things voters look at, and unfortunately, like they're going to hold it against you. So, but that pretty much wraps it up for wrap it up today. What do I mean, that's what you want to plug today?
I think we lost JMIK for a second.
And can you hear me?
Um, or maybe not.
I'm not sure if you heard what I said, but yeah. So I was saying like that pretty much wraps up the episode of Route
Yeah.
It Up. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
Yeah. So I was saying like that pretty much wraps up the episode of Route It Up. Is it something that you want to plug this week, man?
We got Coast to Coast coming out. Our next episode Wednesday, where we will either be celebrating the win against the Lions or talking about how the defense failed again. I mean, it's very fluid at this time of year. Um, so what we Coast to Coast 9 p.m. Check us out on YouTube. You can follow us at if you type in Coast to Coast Podcast NJ, Coast to Coast Podcast NJ in YouTube, it'll pop right up. You'll see Josh Allen face doing one of these. That's the signature pose against the signature pose he made against the Dolphins a couple years ago. So that's how you link into the podcast. So yeah, just you tap in with that. But I did want to real quick say something about the MVP before we get out of here.
Sure.
In addition to that stuff which you was talking about golf, I mean the only person who you can't make that argument about is Josh Allen because if you look at Lamar Jackson, yes, Lamar has won other MVPs, but Derrick Henry is the first or second best running back in the NFL. I would say second because Saquon Barkley at this point has surpassed him. But like Zay Flowers is a really, really good wide receiver. Bateman's having a really good year. And he's got a pair of tight ends that are excellent. The defense, even though they have not played great against the pass, they're one of the best run stopping defensive units in the NFL. They get after the passer. They're coached very well. He's got one of the best coaches in the league. Like there's a lot of stuff that you could point to and say Lamar Jackson got a ton of help. Same thing with Saquon Barkley, top 2 or 3 O line. Defenses played well. Those weapons on the outside. Jalen Hurts is, I mean, he's a good quarterback. People uh, will try to say that he isn't. He is a good quarterback. He may not be elite, but he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. So, I mean, everybody's got help except Josh. I mean, Josh doesn't have nearly the type of help that the rest of these guys have. But, um, you know, I think Goff has a shot. I think he's a dark horse. But I think we all agree. I think everybody agrees at this point it's Josh the Ward to lose. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I've been, I
That's
mean,
all I
but
got.
that's the thing is like so I just have, like one more thing too. Like when you have a race and MVP and like they're all close, that's what they're going to look toward. They're going to look towards who was doing what with less. And I mean, Josh, I mean, like
Right.
Josh Allen has some. He has some. He has some pieces, but they're not. The issue is like they're not pieces like the Eagles have. They're not pieces like Jared Goff. And they're not pieces like the Ravens have. So it's like he's got. Not. I'm not trying to say like his weapons are just trash. They're not trash. They're solid pieces. But I mean, he's playing against other. I mean, like he's going up against like other players that have more than just solid pieces. And sometimes you get a close MVP race. That's what it can come down to. Like it come down to that narrative and I mean moments. Um, and so like
It's
those,
clear Josh elevates the talent around him. Like that. That's one thing we can't.
and I mean like Josh Allen has the narrative. I mean like which is I mean people thought that without Diggs they weren't going to be as good, and he's got the moments. Like he had the moment against the Rams, and he had the moment against the 49ers. So it's like he's got like like the his stats are up there anyway. So it's like like I said, like if it's close, I just don't see how they don't give it to him. And I mean,
Right.
we just gotta see how like the next 4 weeks go. Uh, I mean, but for me, and you can catch me at the Check Down podcast every Saturday at 11 a.m. and we talk about college football and we talk about the NFL. I mean, like we talk about a lot of different things. Uh, check us out today. We're mostly going to be on the NFL today because obviously college football last week was championship weekend. So I mean, you catch us there at on the YouTube at 11 a.m. on at 4133 podcast. Um that's the actual name that we stream under. And you can catch me on Twitter. JMIK. I'm in like in the spaces and like and all that. I don't always talk a lot, but but I'm always listening, man. So yeah,
All right.
and we will see you next week.
See y'all next week. Appreciate y'all.